My name is Luke McNamara. I work as a principal analyst at FireEye. We're an intelligence-led cybersecurity company. I focus on various emerging threats and activity by nation-states and other actors. We see a range of a lot of different types of threats across the landscape today. In some cases, in the case of cyber criminal activity, threats like ransomware are incredibly disruptive to organizations, shutting down their operations and impacting their ability to carry out their work. In other cases, we see more and more nation-states showing interest in targeting critical infrastructure, and impacting some of the most vital power and electric utilities that we use for our day-to-day lives. And then in other cases, we see cyber espionage actors targeting data sets and using those to carry out all kinds of different operations. There's been a lot of different interest with the organizations that I've met with, both in industry, government, and academia as well. And so I think there's a lot of interest in understanding not just about cybersecurity, but about the particular area and field that I work in, which is threat intelligence, and how organizations can better use that, how they can share information better between private and public sector, and how they can use that to kind of grow the maturity of all those different organizations in the country. I think this, in one case, is a good example of why it's important to be aware of all the different types of threat actors out there. What are the tools they're using, what are the tactics they're using, and what sorts of data are they targeting. In a lot of cases, many organizations aren't aware that they could be a target by nation-state actors because of the data they have, or in some cases because of the customers they have. So maybe they service very important customers. The government, they handle sensitive information, law firms might be an example of this. So there's a range of different threats they have to consider. And I think North Korea is a good example of a nation-state actor that is increasingly expanding their operations in cyberspace. Several years ago, most of their operations were kind of focused on South Korea. But as we've seen over the most recent years, more and more they're spreading their intrusions and campaigns with a much more worldwide focus. So even threat actors outside your particular region may have an interest in targeting you, and so this may be an example of that. Well, I think the one thing that we can say for sure is that the cyber threat landscape will remain dynamic, so the threats will change and evolve. Some of the threats that we see today may diminish and not be as impactful in the future as new technologies come out to help to better mitigate these threats. And in other cases, the sorts of new technologies that are being developed around artificial intelligence, blockchain, other sorts of new kind of emerging technologies could be utilized in new ways to secure and better store data. But I think the important thing to remember is that one of the most critical links in the entire ecosystem of cybersecurity is the human factor. And so the more that we can do to better educate and train employees in organizations and the general workforce around what are cyber threats they need to be aware of, that will, I think, help strengthen the overall cybersecurity ecosystem, because there's only so much you can do with technology to secure systems and data.